Stop recording.
Good Saturday morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody's doing well on this Saturday morning. In this video, I want to talk to you guys about a particular thing that you might want to know when you buy a brand new Echo SRM 225 Weedwhacker. And I want to talk about this Weedwhacker in particular. So, one thing to know when you buy this machine is that when you start it up and when you're going full throttle, it's going to run very rich. I don't know why they do this. There was another YouTuber who said that I saw on someone else's YouTube channel who said they set them lean from the factory. Actually, no, they don't. They actually set them too rich for my liking from the factory. Now, you can, of course, if you have a screwdriver, you can adjust that high screw to your liking. But when it comes from when you buy it brand new, you will notice that unfortunately, it will run very rich. It's actually quite annoying. So, yeah. So and some of them, when you press all the way down on the trigger, for some reason it'll feel like you're actually not pressing all the way on the trigger when you really are, and there is a possibility that it might hurt your fingers. So there's that to know. And I'm talking from experience here. So there's that to know. Also, it might seem like it's like it runs out of gas quickly. Let's just say if you fill up the tank and the gas tank, and let's just say if you fill it up all the way, and then maybe you use it for maybe a half hour, let's just say, and it starts bogging down and it starts stalling out, and it might seem like it's running out of gas quickly. So there's that to know. But the main thing I wanted to cover in this video is the fact that it will run very rich when you use it when you use it, unless you adjust that high screw. Now, here's another important thing to know. Make sure you put string on your Weedwhacker before you use it, because if you don't, you can blow the engine. So make sure you always have string on it, no matter whether you buy it brand new or whatever. Make sure you always have string on your Weedwhacker, because again, if you don't, you run the risk of you can blow the engine. You can. So there's that. But anyways, when I bought my Echo SRM 225 in March of 2019, it was very rich. My original Echo SRM 225 I'm talking about, it was very rich, and the second one I bought, which was last January, that one was extremely rich. But again, you can adjust that high screw if you have the screwdriver, if you have the proper screwdriver to adjust that high screw. Now, some people say those carburetors, or that particular carburetor, is not adjustable. It is. So, there's that. Oh, here's another important thing to know about that particular Weedwhacker. I want to talk about the throttle lock for a second. So, on that particular Weedwhacker, it has a trigger guard. And if you press on the trigger without holding down the trigger guard first, you can actually break the trigger. So I definitely wanted to cover that. So remember that. So always press down on the trigger guard first, then press on your trigger. That's a very important thing to remember, unless you want to, of course, have your throttle cable and your trigger replaced. But yes, the trigger can break and the throttle cable can break if you do not press on the trigger guard first before you press on the trigger. So I wanted to talk about that because that's really important. That's really, 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 really important to know. So always remember, folks, to press on the trigger first press on the trigger guard first. Always press on the trigger guard. Hold down the trigger guard. Then press on the trigger. Do not, absolutely do not press on the trigger first and then the trigger guard, because over time, the trigger will break. And so will the throttle cable. So there's that. So yeah, that's about it as far as that particular Weedwhacker goes. I just wanted to do a video and kind of talk about this particular Weedwhacker. I wanted to do a video and talk about this and talk about that particular Weedwhacker. Or I should say, talk about this particular Weedwhacker. So just remember those things. And yeah. And again, if that Weedwhacker is running too rich, you can adjust it. The high screw I'm talking about, but you kind of have to you kind of have to find that sweet spot, because you don't want to lean it out. You don't want to lean it out too much. You kind of want to get a kind of in the middle kind of an adjustment, so it's not running, because if you adjust that high screw, and you get it to the point where it's too lean, it will actually bog and stall out, or in some cases it'll just stall out when you press on the trigger. It'll stall right out. So it'll stall out. So when you adjust that high screw, you want to find that sweet spot. You want to get it to where it's not running too rich, and you want to get it to where it's running lean, where it has plenty of power. So so there's that. But anyway, you guys, I hope this video helps, and it's a good unit. It's a good machine. It's one thing I like about it is it's got plenty of power, even though it only has a 21.2 cc engine in it. It has plenty of power, and I also like the fact that it has the i30 recoil starter, which means that it only it takes 30% less effort to pull on the rope when you start it. So it's a great machine. Just remember those things that I talked about, like the trigger guard, and remember that when you buy it, it is going to run rich, very rich. It might run very rich. So yep. But anyway, thanks for watching, and y'all take care.